Hello and welcome to Attention Span Labs. Today we're playing Xenos Rampant. This is another installation in our War for Shandao campaign. And the scenario, this is going to be a four-way battle. The scenario, if you're familiar with the Shandao campaign, you'll know that there's been a lot of rebellious activity breaking out, but not all of the native Mandarins have been disloyal. In fact, one important loyalist Mandarin named Mohin Zhojin has been a strong supporter of the 80 Power Alliance, but he's having trouble because he's continually under assault from, what are they called now? The Workers for Freedom?
Workers of Freedom.
The Workers for Freedom, formerly the United Mining Guild, who were allied with the Blessed Concordance. And he can't keep his people loyal if he can't protect them. But as happened recently during the Night of Comets, there was a penal circus ship, and these were non-human sophonts that were convict, but then sent around the galaxy on a freak show, and they were shot down. They broke out, stole some weapons, and attacked the Mandarin's home compound, or one of his compounds. They've captured his major domo and most of his servants, his third wife, and so forth. And this is a really big loss of faith. They've even sacrilegiously converted one of his buildings, and so they put Orky totems on it, as you can see over there. And they've made a ruin of the place. And he definitely can't command the loyalty of his people if he can't protect his own home. This is a big loss of faith. So the 80 Power Alliance has sent, and we'll talk to the commanders in a minute, they've sent a relief force that will mainly be coming in through the bridge over there, of combined Void Knights, aka Space Marines over there, and Arquilon and Conastan's infantry units. So the commanders allied at this point are Nicholas, who is commanding the Arquilon and Conastan's force, Tim, who is commanding his Space Wolf, Space Marine Void Knights, the penal circus. The orcs are being commanded by Russ, who you'll notice has once again brought unpainted miniatures to the table and disgraced himself. Except for my custom-made Killacan, the Pogo Killacan, which we'll talk about in a minute. And also involved in this is Jeff commanding the Workers for Freedom. So the objective of the orcs is to hold on to what they got. The objective of the 80 Power Alliance is to kill the orcs and mostly capture everything intact and keep the hostages. And the objective of the Workers for Freedom is to kill the orcs. And they don't really care what they keep intact so much, or the hostages are killed, because they feel if they can kill the orcs, they don't really care about the Mandarin and his family and so forth. But the other people will swarm to them for their protectors. Okay, so that's the introduction to the scenario. And now we're going to talk. So the orcs are on the table already. We'll explain when the other units come on board. Russ, what do you have on the table there at manning the roadblock at the bridge?
That's a Berserker unit.
Okay, that's a vehicle.
Infantry.
Okay, but it is like a dreadnought type thing. And
Yeah.
Then you got the Pogo Killacan over there.
Yep.
And that has the unstable Xenos rule, which means whenever he rolls to activate, if he rolls a double, it basically crashes or blows up, something like that, and it takes. So if he rolls 2 4s, for instance, he'll take 4 strength points of damage, right? And then you also got out a Goblin Gretchen. What is that?
Goblin Artillery unit.
Okay, so that's just like a support.
Support infantry.
Support infantry unit.
Yep.
All his other units are hidden away. I have a list of what's under these blinds. They're in these buildings, so they'll be activated only after they're basically sleeping or drinking or whatever they're doing. They're abusing the hostages, whatever, and they'll only be activated after gunfire starts or the alarm is sounded. Jeff, what do you tell me about your force, just briefly about what you have?
Yeah, I have 3 units of light infantry. They're basically guerrillas with RPGs.
Are you using this whole box?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I have a 3-man biker unit. They are light infantry with exploder and mobile. And then I have the Ridge Runner, which is a fighting vehicle with the indirect fire mortar.
And that is also unstable, right?
Yes, and it is unstable. It also has infiltrators, so it can,
Okay,
it
yep.
can move. And then I have the Rock Grinder, which is a fighting vehicle that has it has anti-personnel
Yep.
specialism and close quarters doctrine, so they're both like minuses. But it has area effect from the heavy flamer.
Okay.
And then I have the truck. Is just a transport vehicle with exploder, and it can transport 10.
Right. They're suicide bombers. Okay. Tim, why don't you tell me about your Space Wolf forces? What you got?
Long Fangs, well, whatever.
Support unit?
Support unit.
Mm-hmm.
They have anti-tank, firefight, and heavy penetration.
Okay.
I have cavalry, which I just made berserk units with boarding shields and what else? Oh, armor and mobile.
Okay.
My chaplain, which is elite unit. He has Gamma Species 2, so he has 2 psychic powers, and he's got
They're healing.
and guiding hand.
Okay.
And these guys are another berserk with mobile,
All right.
and they're just
So mobile's a trait that adds what 4 inches to their
it's
movement.
yeah, it's
Yep.
more, they have 12-inch
Yep.
movement. Close combat, so they don't do whatever.
Close quarters doctrine.
Yeah, close-
So they're less effective at shooting, but
Yeah.
Okay.
Demolitions,
okay.
and that's it.
All right. And Nicholas, why don't you tell me about your units that are?
I have the Walker.
Yep. So that's a light fighting vehicle.
Yeah. Have the cavalry.
Cavalry. Cavalry. No, cavalry is where Jesus died. Cavalry are men who ride horses.
Yeah.
All right. So we were treating them as heavy infantry with mobile, and we've changed their free move to the free action to attack. Right.
Yeah.
These guys. They're from Constance. These guys are from Arquilon. They're the support unit.
Yeah.
And you also have these drones here,
Yeah.
which you'll be able to put on the table when you call in for a fire support mission.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then I have these people.
That's your elite infantry.
Yeah.
And then the Armavants there, the old stormtroopers, the Kazarkin, they're going to be they're a heavy infantry advanced unit, and then the others will be your light infantry, the naval infantry there.
Okay.
And they have a couple of special, so the main thing is the support guys. They have artillery and indirect fire, and we talked about the cavalry. Okay, so the rules for the table is this rock here is impassable. This rock and the buildings and the walls are impassable to anything except walkers, but they can try to ram them down, except for the rock. The river is fordable at every point, but it counts as rough terrain for every unit, including rangers, just because it's harder to walk, unless they're jumping over it with jump packs or something like that. The bridge poses no penalty for movement. And the hill, the main compound is on a hill, so it adds an additional +1 armor for anything shooting out from the hill. The solid walls are heavy cover. Structure walls are heavy cover, and the woods, if you're within the woods, they are light cover. And if they look through the woods for more than 6 inches, it's completely it blocks line of sight. The lichen and stuff is only for it doesn't really affect movement, or it doesn't provide light cover. I mean. Yeah, I guess no. We'll say the lichen. They'll count as light cover, particularly if you use the go to ground rule. and then I mean that's the riverbank. So there's mostly along the riverbank. So it'll be that counts as an obstacle when you hit it. You got to stop there anyway. The way the movement rules in this work, you go up to, you can make your move up to an obstacle, but then your next move you have to move to be on the other side of it. So that's how that works. But it won't count as rough terrain for fighting or anything like that. Sandbags will be light cover. The walls and so forth are, as I said, are heavy cover. And we're ready to begin. We're going to do this battle the same way we have for the previous ones, where I'm going to check back in at the end of a turn and tell you everything that happened. All right, see you at the end of the first activation. Okay, we are now at the end of turn 2. I forgot to do one at the end of turn 1, but it's good because a lot of crazy stuff happened. This is a very large game for Xenos Rampant. So, where do we want to start? So all the units, I think, are the Long Fangs on the table? They are not. So all but one unit is actually on the table and revealed. So a bunch of things happen. Let's start here. The bridge is sort of being contested. A lot of units are being bloodied. This is the elite infantry. That's a dreadnought unit that's down to 1.
It's a berserk.
It's a berserker. Oh, it's a berserk. This elite infantry unit's down to 2. And these they're heavy infantry with jump packs. They've been in a fight with
Berserk.
Oh, they're berserk infantry too. So they've been doing a lot of fighting. They're down to 1, and they're whittled down. This goblin last time emerged out of this. It was a 10-man unit. Opened fire on the elite. They did a firefight. They killed 1 guy, and then they wiped out 5 of them, and they only passed. They only missed. No, they're broken.
Mm-hmm. They rolled a 1 on the courage test.
They rolled a 1 on the courage test. Yeah, so they after everything, and they got shot to pieces too with that walker coming across here. These support units have been open to fire mostly to poor effect on them. Hardly nothing I don't think actually done damage. But now over here, that spotter that popped down on the roof there was able to give a fire order to this artillery piece, which rained down very effectively. Not so much in terms of I think it killed 3 guys, but they would have broken entirely off the board, except that their leader is within 12 inches, luckily. So they passed with a 0, right? Or they didn't pass the test, so they're suppressed too. That's about everything going on there. We got your leader who hasn't done any of his psychic stuff yet. But they're suppressed. And here, the other goblins, reduced unit of goblins are running to try and make some use of it. Got the boss with a swig on the roof. He opened fire at these bikes. We'll get to that in a minute. This infiltrated in right at the start of the game, but then Jeff he decided he wanted to turn around and start firing on this quadrant of the table, because at the beginning of the game, Nicholas rolled a 1. We're doing this would be 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, so forth. So the order was the cavalry, was both units of cavalry were allowed to come in at the 1 o'clock position, because they were sent ahead of that to infiltrate and flank around. So they were causing a lot of trouble here, but not a whole. I mean, they did kill some guys, and they reduced the strength of those.
They did 1 strength damage to the truck. They killed 2 of the neophytes.
Yeah, so these guys are sort of running from there, but the cavalry took some more damage. And from here, this is our Benny Hill scene. You got the orcs coming out of the tent, running into the Workers for Freedom infantry there, and then with the truck running up right behind them, and the cavalry running up right behind them. We have the unstable attack. They did try to do a wild charge with the dreadnought. It was within range of these guys, but he failed it, and he did not fail with the double. So it's still bouncing. It's still jumping up and down. Hasn't been able to hit anything, and the bikes took 1 casualty. So this is the state of the board. So a lot of people have been killed, but haven't made, after 2 turns, a very big encroachment. This area looks like it's threatening to fall. If they break the roadblock, they'll be able to break it open here, but there's a lot of carnage going to happen here. So we'll be back at the end of the next turn, or the next 2 turns. All right, we just started turn 4. So at the end of turn 3, let's start with the most interesting thing that happened, which was at this cavalry engagement here. Jeff drove the truck and suicided it.
For the people!
For the people. And killed what? Killed one wolf and 2 cavalry. They survived their test, but then the mortar immediately opened fire, killed the other wolf. There was a melee combat with the wild charge. charged this unit over here,
Yes.
I believe, right? So he killed a bunch of guys, but then took 1 point of damage and freaked out. He actually failed his morale test. So the Pogo Dreadnought is still standing. And then we open up. Anything else significant happen? So down here there was the drones were called in, killed that Berserk unit, that the Dreadnought dude. The Long Fangs were called in finally. The chaplain was able to heal one of the assault marines there, but they took a lot of other withering fire, so they lost their guy again. And
That's 2 guys.
2 guys. Yeah, had to retreat. So a lot of casualties down this end, but now and then there was. Yeah, so then the next roll for turn 4, Russ won the initiative, and he had this artillery piece, opened fire and drove those assault marines back in with more casualties.
Yep.
But the 80 power alliance figures back here, or army, are having trouble getting past this initial roadblock, but they've cleared out all the trouble here. But there's a lot of interesting fighting going to be going on here. We'll see if they. We have 2 cavalry left, but so we'll see what happens. Right, we're at the end
But
of
the one
turn
that did
5.
ones
And
last time.
here's how the situation looks like. The 80 World Alliance is breaking through there in the river, moving up, taking some casualties as they do, but that Gabo unit there was wiped out entirely. A lot of exchange of fire between this Walker and that an elite unit,
Yeah.
the elite banner bearer unit. Lots of not necessarily effective spotted artillery fire going through, and there seems to the interesting thing is that there seems to be a temporary truce worked out between the penal circus works and the workers for what are they called? Workers for freedom.
That's right.
The workers for freedom. So this is the state of the battlefield. We're going to continue on see if something can give this next turn. Seems like. Could be a lot of trouble on the flank there with those Long Fangs. Open up on that vehicle there. And what are those guys doing all the way back there? Are they dead?
They're in the transport.
They're in the transport.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yep. And we got the mortar back here, so we'll see what happens. A lot depends on the initiative for the next turn. All right, things are happening here. The Walker got taken out. But then, and the Long Fangs, they failed to activate, right? Or
they shot and
they
missed.
did 1 point of damage on them, right? Yeah. So that's down to 2. All of Jeff's vehicles explode, which we'll get to in a second here. So the back to here, the support unit opened up on that elite infantry, wiped them out, and then this elite infantry here opened up fire on Jeff. Used to have. This unit here, so 2 guys left. He had 2 bikers over there that were doing spotting. Wiped them out with massive hit. It was like 8 hits on them or something like that. And they also blow up. So they did a bunch of damage to took 2 guys out of there to Russell's Orc unit there, and did 2 points of damage to the building. So that building is almost halfway down. Meanwhile here, he's got guys acting as spotters back there. Jeff does. For this mortar way back here. I'll move my cup out of the way. That's not actually on the battlefield. More units moving up here. This artillery was not very effective in firing, and so we got the jump troops. They recovered, and they got 1 guy back, right? They healed from the chaplain. And the big showdown is coming now here and then here. We'll see what's going to happen. So Tim has the first has initiative here, so we're going to see what's going to happen with those Long Fangs and the other units here on that. Now the interesting thing is if that blows up, it's everything within 6 inches. So the buildings within 6 inches and the Long Fangs are within 6 inches. So even if they take them out, it may not be good for them. Check back in a bit. All right, 1 more turn down, and of course the Long Fangs did chew that up. First shot blew it up, and then it caused no damage to them. But on the second roll for the building is no more.
Killed all the hostages.
Yes, and it may in fact have been where all the hostages. There was a surprising amount of humans screaming here, and then we did some The Archie continued to move up here. They got pushed back after getting hit by artillery fire from that gun that's still unsilenced, and they had to retreat back. But most to my chagrin, you notice there was a unit of Archie naval infantry, and they were marched right up against the hill of no cover, took fire in there, and they were wiped out. And Nicholas, why don't you tell the viewing audience what you said about them?
They didn't matter.
Yeah, I believe your exact
Yeah.
words were, "I didn't care about them. They were a hindrance to me,
Yeah.
inconvenience to me,
Inconveniencing to me.
inconveniencing."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they had an off color.
They had what does that mean? They had an off
They
color.
were too yellow. They were for the sand.
10 brave men of the Arquilon Naval Infantry sacrificed futilely in their hour of glory. More on this tragedy and this treason later. All right, we're calling the game as one of the players went home, and we're honestly quite exhausted. The infantry here, it was a large point battle. There was finally that the Killican, it lost the combat, right? So it had to retreat, and then the rule is that every time it moves, even if it can pass the move, it has to roll, see if it rolls doubles. And he rolled a double one, and he only had one wound left, so it finally blew up. So the Pogo finally got out at the end of the game. So where spotting came in, that what do they call it? So the Vanguard assault troops, they were pinned and lost 2 guys. There's fighting up here and fighting up here, but the big thing is that that unit up there basically got wiped out by the charging wolf priest. But down here we have
Yeah, really.
the real problem is perhaps that building is
The voice of the people survived.
the voice of the people. He passed the morale test even after being down, having taken a -4 on that last one.
Yep.
So a Pyrrhic, I'm not sure what this is because there's cries of the dead hostages right out here. But the question now is which side can spin it as a propaganda victory?
But there is no question there.
Well, I mean, they were using suicide bombers, and that's why.
That sounds like filthy imperialist lies.
Exactly.
So the question is who videotaped, who can get the videotape out faster and with the best.
The guy with all the
best
communications
editing.
gear all over.
The voice of the people, of course.
I mean, I'm a chaplain, so
He's already radioing back the story.
Yeah, a foreign void knight. No, sir.
That's the end of the battle. Well, thank you everybody for watching, and let me know what you think about. Let me know what I didn't film this live because some of you smart Alex would be telling me you got those rules wrong and everything else. So let me know what you think of Xenos Rampant and the other Rampant
Right.
games and yes, Michelle.
You are supposed to intentionally put a wrong rule in so people flood your comments and the video goes viral.
We don't have to
We don't
intentionally.
pander to the algorithm.
Well, we don't have to intentionally get rules wrong at all.
Yeah, exactly.
So we get them wrong enough all the time. But yeah, I had a lot of fun jamming the game, and I got to play a two activation myself. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think of our forces and the scenario in the comments. Thanks for watching. Attention Span Labs signing off. Oh, and if you're in the Western calendar, happy Easter. Christ is risen.